Okay, so I want to help. I started my food forest, my whole homesteading adventure, agroforestry adventure in 2019, and I've learned so much along the way, people, that I want to contribute to that enthusiastic person out there who's discovering food forestry, who's discovering the joy of getting your hands in the soil and grinding it out. I want to help out the person whose garden is calling to them and is wanting them to tend it. So here's where we want to start. Rabbits are incredible. They will eat 90% of what grows on your current property right now. If you have a home, if you have just a little bit of property, a lot of property, rabbits, when you lock them up, will eat anything, and they'll love it, and they'll enjoy it. So in addition to the pellets and the mineral availability blocks and the alfalfa, which I just give them a little bit of what she eats, as far as the hay and the pellets, they love to have fresh greens available. And so there's greens all over your property. You just pluck a handful of them, or a little grocery bag full every morning, like I do, and or I should say a Movetta bag full of weeds or greens of whatever. And don't worry about the whole, oh, they're toxic. Trust me, rabbits are smart, animals are smart. They will not eat it if they don't like it. And you'll know, because there'll be plenty of it left over. So why rabbits? Why do you want to start with rabbits? Rabbits, the reason why is because, let's take a look here. Let's take a look at what we got. With a smart setup, my rabbit droppings are on a slanted screen mesh, and they just make me a pile of that. They're just every day I get a whole nother pile of rabbit droppings mixed with the straw bedding, mixed with the alfalfa. And what I do is I just put all that into my desert soil, and I put it into the flood irrigation. Well, the water here, you can't put it on your leaves because the salt content and the alkaline content, it coats the leaves and makes it so that the plants don't photosynthesize, and then they die because they can't feed themselves with the energy of the sun. And so having the rabbits and having the endless amount of poop transforms what would be just sandy soil into, the plants don't eat it directly. What it does is you create habitats for the worms. So wherever I plant a tree, I'll create habitat for the worms. So you have the straw, the rabbit poop, the leaves, flood it, and let the worms move in, and in process and time, eventually, once I get all the branches laid out and all the infrastructure for the creek beds, we're trying to fill the creek beds with wood. So you have mulberries that need to be pruned every year. That one hasn't been pruned yet, but the whole top of that mulberry tree, which is only a couple years old, I'm just gonna hedge it. and I'm going to use all the cuttings to chop and fill up my, kind of like right here, the waterway. Because like it says in Psalms chapter 1, verse 3, the Lord told us how we should garden. And I believe you should garden like that everywhere. But, or at least he specifically said that he specifically says that a righteous man, a godly man, is like a fruit tree planted next to a river, which brings forth fruit in its time and never dries out in the drought, so to speak. I just slaughtered that. Go look it up. Psalms chapter 1, verse 3. So as we walk through this one, I pruned this mulberry, so when it brings forth its fruit, it's reachable. I mean, I may look like I'm part, I may look like I'm a good climber because I look like a monkey. I ain't no monkey. I climbing up there. So I chop it down and I bring it to me. This guy right here, supposed to be a plum. It's a fruitless plum. So guess what? We chop it up. We feed it to the rabbits every day, little by little. We throw it in. We throw the chopped bits inside the river, and it feeds. It feeds the worms. Everything in a food forest should think about the worms in mind. What chemicals are you putting in here? Is it going to harm the worms? What amendments are you going to put in? Is it going to harm the worms? All of your fruit peelings and your banana fruit peelings, all of your waste, all of the carbs, just dig out a little spot in your mulch. So this is a finished product of what we're trying to accomplish in the river mulch bed. It has layers of big wood, small wood, straw, a little bit of straw, a lot of rabbit poop, because I have an endless supply of rabbit poop. If you start your rabbit hutch and you have a little slant poop catcher, you're in heaven as a gardener, because every time you plant something, go fill up a bucket. I never run out of rabbit poop because I like to feed them in their little colony. And that's fun because they eat out of my hands. And I got some nest boxes in there, so they have their babies in their nest boxes, and it's just wonderful. So 5 years ago, when I started my food forest, the learning curve was so hard for me, and it was so mentally draining because all of my enthusiasm got met with the desert and the bugs and bad watering systems. Watering a food forest by hand is miserable. So when I discovered, I started getting wiped out by the gophers is what started happening. So I'm planting as recommended, like everybody I followed online, plant the trees with enough space and distance to grow to their full potential. And I really believe in research, and so I researched as much as I possibly could. Well, what happened was I did everything right, but for my property, with the gopher infestation that my neighbor has been battling on his 5 acres, which is right next to mine, for 30 years, this guy's been battling. What happened was, on my property, what I was doing, spacing those trees out, watering them once a week, oh, I was plumping up those roots nice and juicy for the gophers to come and have a snack. And I lost, I'm not exaggerating when I say hundreds of trees. For my 40th birthday, I went down to Arizona and bought, I think a couple hundred exotic, like awesome trees that would have been so cool. I was so enthusiastic. And yeah, dead. Every year I replace them. And when it came down to it, the only trees that truly survived were a couple of trees that happened to be planted what I thought was a little too close to my irrigation canal. It was a little too close, but something made sense because I realized those trees survived because their roots, not the whole root, their lower roots were touching the water. They had it, and so for a gopher to go after that tree, it would have had to grow gills to get it. And so light bulb went on. I redid my whole configuration surrounding a main river, a main upper river, lower river, and creeks. And I just planted, hoping that I would reproduce the same result of defending my fruit production against the gophers. And then 2 years after that, I came across that scripture in Psalms. And the scripture in Psalms basically says a righteous man is like a fruit tree planted by the river. So go figure. If the Lord's telling us how to get it done, I'm pretty sure that's the right way to go, without a doubt. No matter what, everybody and all the internet wisdom and all the agroforestry people and all the, which are wonderful people, and wonderful tips for their property, not for my property, because the gophers are out of control here. They're out of control. You guys, it's like something I've never seen before. To this day, I mean, I can either spend all my time trying to hunt them down and smoke them out and blow them out and poison them, or I can just continue to follow the pattern of planting by the river. And so I'm obviously choosing to do the latter. So as I share with you this view of my main river up on the top that flows and creeks to the left, to the right, and then it joins the bottom river, the habitat just is not conducive for gophers to set up their underground apartment complexes that they do. And the root systems, once you establish these trees, a lot of people are like, oh, you can't replant there. Oh, you can. Hack through those roots. I've hacked through this pear's roots, this mulberry, this persimmon, that jujube. I've hacked through all the roots to put in different areas that I wanted to design. Once they're established, you're not killing that tree. You're not. You're not. The roots are everywhere. Because there's moisture everywhere, they're everywhere. And they're grabbing nutrients, intermingling nutrients. And so if you hear that this setup, you're going to give your plant root rot. Not necessarily. And this establishment, I wouldn't share it unless I already knew for sure this establishment is on its 3rd year of this setup. So, well, that's my contribution to the food forestry world. And I want to say, make it a great day!